Hi all, Ben McCulloch here from Martogg. I'm back with Austin Ramage to answer a few more questions that were recently raised at AIP's virtual tour into Martogg. So Austin, first one from John. Really great to see this level of investment in recycling PET in Australia. Looking at the recycling process, how does the energy consumption per kilo compare producing virgin material versus recycled material, as this would be part of environmental impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the short answer to that one is that the recycling industry here in Australia is in its infancy. So I don't believe anyone in Australia has done that work here as yet. I think it will be done in the future. But I think just in a general sense, if you consider that the production of virgin PET is a process of extracting a fossil fuel, a gas or an oil from the ground. We then refine that material. We then manufacture virgin PET in the first instance. So there's a few stages there. We're then shipping that all around the world to be consumed into food packaging. If we can get that circular economy going here in Australia, and we can be collecting the bottles or collecting the packaging, we can be reprocessing it, and we can be reusing it here in Australia, there's no doubt that the footprint of that would be less than virgin PET.
And look, in the case of PET, we have seen studies completed globally that compare the carbon footprint, or draw comparisons between the carbon footprint of virgin PET versus recycled PET, and that the findings show that up to 79% less carbon footprint where recycled PET is used in place of virgin PET. Now that takes into account the entire life cycle of the material, from collection, washing, reprocessing, and so forth. So it's significant.
Yeah. I have no doubt that in the future that work will be done here in Australia, and it will show that it is more efficient to use recycled PET over virgin PET. But just if you put all of that aside for a second, there's some scary stats there, that exist that say, for example, that every piece of plastic that's ever been manufactured still exists today. Now, if you start to look at it from that perspective, irrespective of what the carbon footprint of using virgin versus using recycled is, we have an obligation to do something with that plastic that we're generating. We can't just continue to use it and keep clogging up our environment, clogging up our landfills, by not contributing to the circular economy. So I think it's they're all linked. All of these things are linked, but we have an obligation to do something with the plastic and to prevent it from entering the environment and entering the landfill. So that's a great question, and I'm sure that there will be a lot more work done on that over the next few years, as the industry grows here in Australia.
And look, there's applications, no doubt, where recycled content can be used. Yeah. Back into food packaging, back into industrial goods and products.
Back into as many different applications as we can to promote the circular economy in as many different ways as we can, Ben.
Yep. One from Janelle. Do you think 100% rPET will become a problem in the future, dropping IV and structural integrity being an issue?
Yeah, that's an interesting one as well, and I think we touched on it briefly in the videos. So, look, the short answer is that through processing you do affect IV of the PET resin. Now, IV is the predominant physical property of PET that we talk about, when we're talking about raw materials. The beauty of a vacuum system is that you can boost IV, you can lift it back up. So every time you're recycling, you're constantly topping up the IV. But look, ultimately, I think that time will tell, as to how infinite that loop can be. The science certainly suggests that it can be infinite, but I think, will take some time before we really see, what that will look like moving forward. But I think the other important factor to consider in that is that there's so many applications for PET outside of food packaging, such as fiber manufacturing, for clothes and the like. So the reality is that there's probably always going to be a percentage of virgin being used, if not from a cost perspective, but just from an availability perspective, in that there's so many other demands for rPET. So
and look, you look at what's on the shelf right now. We're seeing some brand owners go to 100% recycled content, which is fantastic, but that's not going to be the case with every product. I think
it's not. It's not. I think most people will end up using a percentage. I'm sure some will strive for 100%, but I think the point is there that we're going to be constantly topping up that pool of PET, if you will, with virgin, with virgin physical properties. And I think let's not get caught up on how many times it can go around. Let's just try and get it going around to start with, and then, you know, I think that's the really important point for now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, Austin.